Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cloud-Based Mayhem. Sat down with Ellie Egger, who's from Austria, and she's in the X-Alps this year as a rookie, but it isn't her first X-Alps. She supported Simon and Aaron both. I didn't realize that, but in the 2017 race, and supported Aaron, who was his kind of main supporter in the 2019 and 2021 race, handled all of his navigation and strategy and mapping and getting him the launches and all that kind of thing. She's a mapping expert, and that's what she studied in university. She's also a paragliding instructor and been in the game since the tender age of 14, I believe she said, and she's been at it ever since. So and she's getting ready for the big show herself. She'll be competing this year as a rookie. And so we talk about her training and preparation and what she learned from doing the support role. And we talk about her kind of her mapping expertise and navigation. And she has the tech totally dialed, so that's certainly not one of her worries. But we talk about it all. We talk about competition flying, and she was down here for the Superfinal, as I was. And we recorded this here in Mexico just a few hours after I had the chat with Aaron that we put up last week, and hopefully you heard that one. Some great stories there, but it's obviously because we're here in Mexico, there's a little bit of sound in the background, but for the most part, it wasn't too bad, so I don't think that'll cause any problems. But wonderful chat. It was a great gal, and it was fun to kind of get into her brain and dig around a little bit with this massive endeavor she's undertaking. Please enjoy. Cheers. Ellie, welcome to the Cloud-Based Mayhem. I don't get to do these live that often. That's really kind of nice to do, but we're just wrapped up the Superfinal, crazy 10 days of racing, and I'm sure you're excited to return home and get back to training.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for being here, first of all. Yeah, we had a really nice time here in Mexico right now. Tough flying, but I really enjoyed it. And yeah, for sure, going back home in the snow, some ski mountaineering to do. It's really looking forward to it.
And you were just telling me before we started recording, you're near the Dachstein. You're near the start of the race. That's where you live?
Yeah, exactly. I'm living quite on the foot of the mountain at Ramsam Dachstein.
Yeah.
And so I'm like in the center of the mountains. It's really awesome there. So a super nice site for flying, ski touring, running, hiking, biking, whatever you want to do in the mountains. It's awesome there.
For those who don't know, they know the name because you're competing in the X-Alps, the biggest race in our sport by far, coming up this year, and you've supported Aaron twice. I just had him on the podcast last night. That'll be released here shortly, doing the memory lane thing with Aaron, and you supported him twice, which we'll talk about. But give us a brief rundown of your flying history, how you got into it, and how long you've been doing it, and how you got involved with Aaron and supporting and all that.
Actually, it's quite a funny story because I'm usually from the south of Austria, so from the flatlands more or less.
Okay.
And so it was for hiking holidays with my family, and there you could do like one kind of taste a day, so some paragliding for free, and I was like, I want to do it, and I was 14 by that time, and so my mom said, yeah, okay, you can do it, and first time getting in the air, completely hooked, so it was awesome. And then I was like, I want to go on. And Mom was like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but you have to pay for it yourself. And with 14, it's kind of a bit of a challenge to earn
Can
money.
you fly at 14 in Austria? What's the legal age? Is there a legal age, or you do
Yeah,
whatever?
you can start with 14, but you only get the license with 15 or 16.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I could start it with the courses. And so actually I started to talk to the flight school owner, Anna. And I was like, I really want to do it, but I don't have money. And so she was like, okay, you can work in the office for some hours, and so you can do the course. And that's how I got into paragliding, and like doing some office work and doing some flights and doing some office work. And that went on for 2 years till I had finalized my license. And yeah, finally now I'm still in the same flight school working as a paragliding instructor there now.
Really?
Yeah, actually now I even got part of it. Like now I'm on the bossy side. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, nice.
So really nice.
So this
nice
is your
way.
job.
Yeah,
your
it's my job.
Is flying.
It's
and
flying.
Instructing in tandems?
I don't do so much tandems. I have a license, but I think that's something the boys can do.
Yeah.
And I enjoy mostly cross country flying and teaching. And I just started with safety trainings, so like doing the SOEs.
Oh, okay.
So
Teaching.
Teaching, yeah.
Oh, okay. Over the water? Or...
Over the water, we are based in Italy at Lago di Idro.
Yep.
Really, really nice spot. Much more quiet than Lago di Garda,
yeah.
which is just close by.
And good vertical? I haven't heard of this place.
You have about 700 meters above the water.
Okay.
So
not bad.
Yeah, it's actually pretty nice. Yeah. And the thing is, you drive up by car, so you're kind of independent. You don't need the cable car or anything.
Oh wow.
So that's
what's the name of it?
Lago di Idro.
Ah, okay, cool. That's something to put on people's map. That I hadn't
heard
of that
one. It's kind of secret spot still.
Yeah.
But it's super beautiful.
We really lack SIV sites at home. We really lack, gondolas and that kind of thing. We just don't have the infrastructure that the Alps does. But it's been tricky. We do a lot of towing over the water, but it's expensive and it's tricky. So it's there's so many places in the Alps that are good. But I've done Garda a bunch, but I didn't know about this one. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty nice because there are less people. But yeah, you have to kind of organize with someone because you need a car or a driver. Yeah. So if you just go alone, it's easier on Garda. Or if you want to train acro and you need I don't know how many meters above the water, you better go to Garda. But for normal IV stuff, it's super nice.
Have you found by teaching it, has it helped your own SIV, your own abilities? Is it really correlate?
Yeah, I think so, because you have to think twice about what you're doing and how to explain it. And each time there's some new students asking a question kind of differently, and so you have to rethink about stuff and aerodynamics, and of course you have to do all the maneuvers by yourself to be able to teach them.
Yeah. And
so it's a good training because with the competition gliders, which I normally fly, you get kind of lazy of doing all this stuff.
Yeah,
so
you do.
In the last 2 years, we started doing SOEs for the German and the Austrian League for the competition pilots. Ah. And so I did the same stuff.
So you're doing it on CCC wings?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So that's pretty nice. And it keeps you good in the air. So
it keeps you tuned up.
Yeah.
We needed that this couple weeks, didn't we?
Yeah. So
I've never seen so many hits.
Never before.
I mean, there was a lot of, there was an incredible amount of mid-airs, but also just a lot of hits.
Oh yeah.
I saw one of the Niviuk pilots going out to the Monarchas the other day. I never seen a hit like this. His wing just turned into a rope. Did you see that one?
I did the orange one. I saw an orange one.
No, it was the same. You know, the team one that we all had, the green and pink, or teal and pink, whatever. It was, and I can't remember. It wasn't Tanguy or Tim. I don't know who it was. But the glider just he was right in front of me coming out of a thermal, and his glider just turned into a rope.
Oh,
and then when it came back out, it was like a bomb going off. It was just holy smokes! I'm going over here. But yeah, there was a bunch of them. Yeah, I don't usually. We don't see that much with the CCC gliders these days. I don't, in comps, you just don't see people taking hits that much. But man, there was a lot this week.
It was quite rough air. But I was actually happy that we are all pretty good pilots.
Yeah.
Because if you imagine a lower pilot's level here, that could have ended worse. So.
Yeah, I come down here for the Monarca every year, and there have been Monarchas where there are a lot of incidents. Just mostly reserves. Thankfully, very few accidents. If people throw, they're usually okay. But there have been comps here that are just mayhem. And it was really like that. It's just interesting to have it like that in a Superfinal. I wouldn't have expected that.
No, me neither. But it was on the first few days, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? There's a rescue, so. Okay, I just don't want to get a problem in the air.
Totally. So, instructing, is that will you keep that going right up until the X-Alps, or are you going to cut and just do nothing but training? And you've got a lot of experience with the X-Alps, supporting Aaron a couple times. I'm curious about your path between now and the race.
Actually, training, I will do side to working. Yeah. Because as I'm kind of self-employed, it's more easy to manage, and I'll spend a couple of weeks down at Idro for teaching, so it's always more or less 4.5 days teaching and then 2.5 days off.
Yep.
So, but even on these days, I can do like the basic training I'm doing right now. So like I have like a full training plan.
Do you have a trainer?
Yeah, my supporter. She studied sports, and so she made me like a full plan. And now she's like, each day I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. She's like, why didn't you do that?
It's nice to have somebody to be accountable to, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was like, you have to do nothing today. That's most of the time what she's saying, because I'm like, I want to do something, and then the weather is good, and I just want to run up the mountain, and it's like rest day. So
rest is really, I've learned that rest and recovery are really important, more than you think. You always think, I need to be doing more, but you got to give your body a chance to recover too.
Yeah.
How did you before we get to that, how long have you been flying comps?
So I started competing in 2016, and so in December 2016 I went down to Portugal in South Africa for the Western Cape Open, and that was like my first big international competition, 100 pilots and so many good ones, and that's where I met Aaron, because I was down there with Paul Guschelbauer and Stefan Gruber, and they were competing at the next edition, 2017 in X-Alps, and so they were kind of talking to Aaron, and I was just,
Were you thinking back then that something that you might want to do someday, or not yet? That wasn't really on your radar?
Not yet. It was too far away, like kind of all these guys flying so good and so far on the mountain, and I was just like happy to kind of get to know them and to learn and stuff, and just being there I kind of got in contact with Aaron, and so like on the windy days, one day they took off and Aaron had like crazy a lot of ballast, and so he was kind of lifted and sit back on his ass more or less, and he couldn't stand up again. And that's how I got in touch, because I just helped him up. And so down at the landing he was like thanking me, and actually at this time I think we ended up drinking some gin tonics.
Nice.
And so we kind of got in touch, and it's kind of ended up being a really nice friendship.
Cool.
So as I was in Graz studying at that time, I also was in contact with Simon Oberrauner, and he asked me if I would help him with navigation in 2017. And so actually it was 2.5 times in Ixta, and that's how Aaron found out that I'm kind of good with navigation. So that's why he asked me in 2019. Or actually, he asked me in 2018 if I want to be his supporter in the next edition.
Because he's not very technical. He would say that about himself.
No, I wouldn't really call him technical.
No. He's more fly by the seat of your pants kind of guy.
Yeah. No, he's a lot of things, but he's not the tech guy.
Right. Yeah. He would say that first about himself as well. Let's talk about that. Mapping. That's what you studied in school?
At university. Yeah. I was a programming school, so technical college for programming first, and that's what I went to school for. And then at university, I studied geodesy. It's like the science of measuring the Earth.
Okay.
So everything about GPS, navigation systems, and maps is software. So whatever you can need for planning a route. And
I'd love to see your UDI screen. What do you fly with?
I know, I actually don't have a hoodie. Now on the drift, I wouldn't even know where to put it.
It fits. I put my hoodie in my phone.
Okay, it works
see it
like
really well. Yeah,
just portrait
those
mode.
two. Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna work, but it works. Yeah, it works. Yeah, portrait mode. It works pretty good.
Okay.
But so what do you use?
I'm mostly flying with XC Track.
Okay. Just foam.
Just phone.
Ah, okay.
And I have like a X Tracer.
Yeah.
That's
Very
kind
well.
of.
Okay, and I'd still like to see your screens. It's fascinating. So I would imagine things like airspace are just piece of cake for you. Natural. That would be a dream. It's not natural for me at all. I'm always just, I'm terrified. I find I've never hit airspace in any of the X-Alps, and a lot of people do, but I use Fly Sky High because I'm an Apple, but the side view is a miracle. Yeah. Where you can see it, then it's no problem.
Yeah, but that's really that's what they did really nice with XC Track.
Yeah.
With the side view, and if I can just glide under, and so that's pretty nice. And yeah, but I know what you're talking about, because during the last X-Alps I was like calling Aaron on the phone, hey, you need to go right because there's airspace just in front of you.
Yeah, he had some dicey, that one by 3 meters, you know,
Yeah.
it was either, and then the second one when he hit, where it was basically, okay, I go in the trees or I hit the airspace.
Yeah, but actually that was, you couldn't say it's my fault, because actually the airspace isn't there, because like from the legal side, this airspace can't go into the mountain.
That was tough.
And so it was me telling him, you were right, as long as you're staying close to the mountain, and when you're lower than 600.
And we've all flown underneath that airspace. I've flown that Locarno airspace so many times like that. You just stay 50 meters off the deck and then you squared under it, and that's how it works. That was really frustrating.
Yeah, that's how it is. And the problem was that I knew it because I'm like instructor and I'm working a lot with airspaces, and I didn't even think about that they just made a TMA running straight into the mountain, because that's illegal.
Yeah,
so,
it's incredibly frustrating.
So when Aaron was like on the phone saying, yeah, Ellie, I hit the airspace, I was like, no way, how can you? You stayed in the mountain. And so I was like, all right, send me the track log, I'll take a look on it. And so I checked the track log, and he was really like swooping through the trees, like as low as kind of possible. And I was like, okay, but you're within these 300 meters above ground, so no problem. And I told to the race director, and he was like, yeah, that's a good argument. And so we thought, okay, then
that's fine.
It's fine. And so the next day we got the penalty. So that was really frustrating.
That'd be heartbreaking. Well, you supported him in 2017, which he had the bad wheel, and was having a great race, but had to bail out. I remember hiking up with you guys. It was a day 2 after the first terrible day with all the rain, and then day 2.
Yeah, on Hoogis, I think.
He hiked up, and he was barely moving.
Yeah, he was like in kind of crutches, more or less. So I was actually at that time in Simon's team, but there were like so many people going up with Simon, so I was like, is it alright if I just go with Aaron? They were like, okay, just go. And that's how I ended up. I ended up going up with Aaron. And at that time, I was not really fit. So it was really kind of frustrating, because he was like jumping more or less on one leg, and he was still faster than me.
Note to self: get more fit for the next one.
So that's where I recognize.
He's a beast uphill.
He is. The steeper, the faster he gets. So
yeah, he's really a gazelle going up hills. It's remarkable. So the what are your kind of main things you can share with the audience about being a supporter after doing those two? I imagine one would be that you must feel much more prepared going in as an athlete, just knowing how that world works, because as we know, doing the race, it's so critical. The team is incredibly critical, and they're kind of behind the scenes, but they're doing a lot of the work. A lot of the really exhausting work, at least in my experience. And so, but for me, I don't really see what they do that much. So I know they're doing a lot, because I land and boom, this is where you're going next. And I don't have to make any decisions. But what was your role? How did it evolve over the 2 different campaigns? And what were give us some highlights in low time. What are the really great things about it, and what are the hard things about it?
Yeah, so as you said, like the supporters are the men or girls behind the scenes you never see, but you really shouldn't underestimate the work they're doing, because it's one thing that like everything is prepared when the athletes is back on the ground, like dry shoes and new clothes and something to eat, something to drink, a place to sleep where you can stay without being pushed away by the police in the night. But what I mostly did for Aaron, I was like the navigation guy, and I did all the weather checks and like searching for takeoffs and planning all the routes and like optimizing, okay, it's better to go up there, fly there, top land again, hike up again. So he more or less got like, as soon as he landed, he was working with the Sunto watch, and I just had the app on my phone. So I uploaded the track on my phone, and he just had it to sync it, and he had it on the watch like instant.
Yeah.
So it was.
So you were planning the next launch. You would look at the weather and the wind and the aspect, and okay, it's going to take them an hour and a half, so we want to be west facing, whatever, in the afternoon, and you'd find all that.
Exactly. Okay. And I also made like a plan for the day with like flying wise, so where the good thermos, which route we're going to take, or what he's going to take, and like more or less, I would say the brain behind, so that he just can focus on flying and running.
Yeah.
And more or less, I'm doing the decisions, and so that was actually one of the best moments in 2019. Yeah, when he was just landed, and I sounded like, okay, that's your next track, just go. And he just went, and like after, I don't know, 45 minutes, he called me, and I was like, everything's all right? Yeah, I just understood why I'm going there. It's a super nice plan. So that was one of my highlights during the race, because it just did it. He didn't even think about it. And then after 1 hour, he realized why he was doing what he was just doing.
Right.
So
cool. It must be really rewarding to, you must be under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And, a lot of pressure, and to put him in the right spot at the right time, that kind of thing. And when it works, it must be a thing of beauty, he's crushing, I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, I distinctly remember, there have been many times in our campaigns where we're just having one, and it's so fun. And then, the last race, we had the worst start ever, and nothing was going right for the first 3 days. And you start to feel, at least for me, I started feeling not bad for myself, but bad for the team, because it wasn't their fault. They weren't making bad decisions. It was just, I wasn't putting it together. And it was just, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
When it just doesn't go right. But it doesn't go right for everybody at some point.
Yeah. Sooner or later, you're going to make mistakes, and that's what if you have a good team, I think that's what you can minimize quite a bit.
Yeah.
If like the team works, and that's like a bunch of individuals put together under small space in the camper for 2-3 weeks under pressure. So you have to find people who stand it, because it's one thing to be out having fun together, but if you have to work together, and as you said, there are times where nothing's working out, so everyone is getting grumpy, and you have like a coward, and the other one is like needs everything to be ordered like properly, so it's kind of, you have to take care of whom you're going to take in the team.
So talk about that. Do you have your team put together already?
More or less, yes.
And how did you decide? How did that pan out?
Actually, like my main supporter, Nadine, she's like a really good friend of mine, and we kind of tick the same way. Okay. So we don't need to talk much. We know what the other is thinking about. Yeah. So that's. And
she's a pilot or not a pilot?
Yeah. Okay. She's a pilot. She did a couple of hike and fly races in Austria. And it's just always super lot of fun for her.
So will she be charged with what you were doing for Aaron? Or will you do that on your own? Because
I can't. Like during the race, I wanna think as less as possible, because I think the more tired you get, the worse the decisions are you're taking. So I want to have someone taking this part for me. So it's mostly going to be Nadine, and probably also Julian from I'm still working on it, but he said he might help me from home, like doing the navigation.
Julian Words?
No, during the X-Alps.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing like the navigation stuff and checking the weather and stuff from home. So that would be pretty nice, but let's see how it works out. So we're going to test it at Easter. Yeah. We do like a 4 days X-Alps simulation kind of thing. And
he'll feed you the weather and that kind of thing, and the route and interesting, but do it from home. Yeah. Okay. In the race too, he wouldn't be with you. Yeah. Okay.
Now that's the plan for now, but let's see how it works out.
So will it just be you and Nadine as a team?
No, it's going to be another girl, Verena. She's like osteopath and a really good friend of Nadine. So actually, I don't know her that well yet, but Nadine said she's really nice, and actually the supporters are the ones spending time with each other. I'm somewhere anyway.
Yeah, so, that's true.
So
they have to get along.
They have to get along, and that's what I asked Nadine, that she picks someone she want to have in the team. So it works well.
Yeah.
And the other one is I worked with him together on Aaron's team before. Daniele, he's coming as well. And Marius, he's going to be like the supporter of the supporters, like taking care that they have everything they need.
And how did you decide this year, okay, now I want to do it? What was the kind of, was there a stepping stone that you wanted to reach when you were supporting Aaron? Were you, in the 2017 race, were you starting to think about it, or not till the 2019 race? And how did you decide, okay, I've cleared whatever hurdles there are I think I'm ready. I think I can do this.
I started thinking about competing already in 2017, like being there on the road and saying like, hey, that's actually what I want to do. I want to hike, I want to race, I want to fly, and I want to push my limits. And then when Aaron asked me in 2018, I was kind of like really proud of myself that I got asked to be Aaron's supporter. And so that was pretty nice for 2019. And after 2019, like during the race, I was like, okay, in 2021, I'm going to sign up. And then we like hiked the last night on 2019 edition up to Peil. And on this hike, Aaron asked me if I'm going to do it again in 2021. And I was like, of course I will do it.
Yeah.
And then afterwards I was like, I had other plans, but now I said yes, so I'm going to do it again.
As a supporter?
As a supporter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up doing it again in 2021.
Okay.
And after 2021, we decided that we're not going to do it again together.
Yeah.
So that was for me. So, all right, now it's my time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And tell me your age.
I'm 27.
27. So you started flying 14, got more into it when you got your license, and then in 2016 you started competing.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been at it 10 plus years.
Yeah.
12 years. What's the one thing about the race that makes you the most nervous right now? Wind.
Yeah. Because I'm a very lightweight person. And that's the thing I'm most worried about. That because I'm always on the weight when I'm flying on this hike and fly stuff.
Yeah.
And if it gets windy, it's just the worst you can do. Being too light on your glider and not enough speed, and it can get windy. You've been to Wallis, so
yeah, it can get very windy.
Yeah, so that's the thing I'm most afraid of.
Okay.
But let's see, I'm talking with Niviuk, and we're trying to find a solution for that problem.
Yeah.
So let's
the
see.
Climber's awful nice.
He is, but
it's an amazing wind.
I have the Climber 2 now.
Yeah.
But it's the weight range is 60 to 78, and with the hike and fly equipment, I'm at 62.
Really?
Yeah.
You are tiny. Yeah,
yeah.
That's tough. Just a little leaf in the wind.
So my supporters have to be fit, because probably they're going to have to carry some ballast for me even during the race. So that's pro and contra there as well, because it's better to fly even heavier, but during X-Alps you sometimes have to land at places you better don't have any ballast at all.
Yeah.
So
and a lot of the real moves are made on the really light days.
Yeah.
And so it can kind of work out in your favor that you can
Sure.
you could load up when you need it, when it's gnarly and on, but when it's just those little milky stuff in the morning where you're just trying to get an extra couple K, it can be nice to just be light and go.
Yeah.
So well, we'll see. I know Gaspard was way underweight on one of his campaigns, and I remember him being really nervous about it, and in some ways it didn't work so well, but in other ways it really did. So in the end, it was kind of, it's all right.
Yeah.
But nothing else, not results, or what are your goals for the race?
I want to be able to come home and say that I did a good race.
Yeah.
And
You just gave it your all.
Yeah, and not to hurt myself. And I want to still kind of be friends with my supporters, so that we have a good race all together.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a race. I'm a competition person, so else I wouldn't fly in Superfinal. So of course I'm going to do my best, but the focus isn't on the result. It's more about my own personal goal to do a good race and be every day at night to be able to say, okay, today I did my best and I did the best out of the day.
This is fresh in my mind because I just talked to Aaron last night with the podcast, but some of his stories were one of the most impactful nights of my life was being in Monaco at the end of the 2015 race, and we were all sitting around, Paul and Aaron and Gaspard, and I think Antoine was there, Ferdy, and it just was this round robin of near death experiences.
Yeah.
You know, Andra almost died, his supporter flying with him kind of near the end, and just all of us had, you know, we were all on cloud nine. We were in Monaco and it was amazing. And, but then hearing all this was a real kind of, I went to bed that night thinking, wow, we are really insane people. And you saw it firsthand in 2017. The weather was pretty wild. And then 2019 was lovely. There was not much risk there, but and then 2021 was
awful again.
Awful, and really scary. I've heard you're a very aggressive pilot, and you don't, it doesn't seem to bother you too much, but it's, how much does that weigh on you?
For sure, it's something on my mind, because that was after 2021 race with Aaron. I was like kind of healed from doing X-Alps, because during that race, I don't know if Aaron told you, but it was like 13 times he almost killed himself.
That last night, yeah.
And
I properly wrecked. I mean, I properly crashed 7 times.
Wow.
You know, I mean, not, they were all two of them were, they could have gone, I could have been dead. Two of them were really scary crashes, and the other ones were just stupid, you know, fly on the wall, kind of blown, you know, just funny. But I'm like a wombat. I can hit really hard. I'm okay. But, you know, the Alps is soft grass, and, you know, if it had been pavement, it would have been something different. But 2 of them were properly just, what are you doing? It's crazy.
No, that was for sure the hardest thing for me, or being a supporter, because like you're down there and you know, okay, you send him up there, and of course you say, okay, you have to take the decision if you take off or not. But then you're sitting down there in the car and you know, okay, now he's in the air and it's probably not safe anymore. And so even after the race, I woke up like in the middle of the night dreaming of thunderstorms coming and I'm not able to reach Aaron. And so like nightmares, because it was really like a lot of tension.
How do you guys communicate? Is it just WhatsApp or something?
WhatsApp or on the phone directly.
Yeah. Okay, just call him.
Just call him, and I think I'll go with Zello. It's like
Zello's great.
Zello is great.
That's what we use.
Yeah. I think that works pretty well, because you don't want to take another radio and another stuff you have to charge, and it's just a pain in the ass. So, and actually each year the mobile connection is getting better and better. So, and in case I'm really kind of in a hole, I can do like offline navigation. I think I'll manage that one.
Yeah. Do you, I mean, I imagine because you were a supporter, I didn't know it was 3. So it was Simon and Aaron the first year, and then Aaron for 2. At this point, you know, I'm rewinding my own clock, you know, getting ready for the 2015 race on my own. I had done no other hike and fly races. And so I was really feeling very overwhelmed about December, about now. Are you pretty calm about it?
I think I'm kind of calm about it, because I've seen it with Aaron like inside out.
Yeah.
So I pretty know exactly what's going to happen in the race, and like all the preparation, it doesn't change so much being a supporter or an athlete for me, because I did a lot of work with Aaron in the preparation time as well.
Yeah.
And so I kind of have like my schemes. Okay, I need the camper, I need the maps, I need which apps I need on the phone, like the watch, what kind of equipment I need. It's like kind of known stuff, which can be good, but you also have to take care you don't forget something, because it's so natural.
Yeah.
But yeah,
have you done a lot of other hike and fly racing?
Zero.
Yeah,
really? Like competing myself, I did not, because I signed up for a couple of them, but then Corona kicked in, and then it was just bad timing, because like when I was on X-Alps, it was on X-Alps, and then my focus was on competitions, like normal comp flying. And yeah, sometimes in summer I have to work as a paragliding instructor as well. So that really doesn't go so well with competitions.
Right.
Because when it's good weather, you should be working. So, but yeah, so as an athlete, I did not. But yeah, I was supporting enough.
Do you think, is there any let me try to ask this tactfully, but I'm not even sure exactly what I'm trying to say. But is there any different pressure on you because you're female, and it's been, there hasn't been a history of many females in the race. They're more lately, and it's people are thrilled with it. But it's do you think there's any? Do you put any more pressure on because you're female, or do you think there is any other outside pressure?
I think there's the media and like social stuff. They're more interested in you when you're a girl, because it's like kind of fancy outsider or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's the more pressure you have as a girl. And yeah, to be honest, as a girl, you are kind of disadvantaged physically. You have to be honest with that one.
Yeah.
You can train as much as you want to. I'll never be able to keep up with Aaron, for example.
Not many people can.
No, actually, good point.
Neither can I. Doesn't matter how much I train. There's no way.
Yeah, I think I can keep up with a couple of guys, but there will always be someone stronger. And I think it's important that you don't pressure yourself too much, because I think that's can get dangerous if you try to do more than you're capable of. And so yeah, maybe there's more pressure on us girls because everyone is looking at us, and actually there are a lot of people like cheering for us, but there are also some voices, why don't you do that? You're a girl, you won't be able to finish it anyway.
Really?
Yeah, and so
people have said that, or you feel that?
Both.
Really?
Both. And then I'm kind of the person, so if you tell me it's not going to be possible, I'll show you that I'll do it.
Nice. I like it. I'll show you.
And so that kind of motivates me to kind of show people that they're wrong. But yeah, I'm curious how it will be, because I have the feeling that girls are more social, even with sharing, even like now before the race, like with Celine, we're just talking, and that's super nice. And it's, I think, for girls easier to share because we're not so competitive, maybe.
Yeah.
Or we can cheer more for the others. Even now here on competition, it's like I can share so much with so many different people, and when I talk to other guys, they're like, they never talk to me about kind of, I don't know, tactical stuffs or whatever. And for me, it's just natural to
share
talk.
everything. Interesting.
Yeah.
I had never thought about that, because it is a world of, what is it, 90 something to less than 10. The percentage is incredible in this sport, and I've also often been fascinated with just the emotional world that females must have to deal with in this sport when it just comes to that. It's just a numbers thing. It must be interesting for students to show up and have a female instructor in a sport that's just so dominated by men.
Yeah, but it's actually pretty funny because our school, we have mostly female instructors.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like, for example, it's like Marlene, Anna, me, Johanna, Karen. We are just girls teaching there. So it's pretty funny when our students go somewhere else then, and they're like, there are no girls anywhere. And because they're so used to here that there are a lot of girls in our schools, and so that's actually pretty nice.
It's pretty. How many females are in this one? Is there 5?
5 who are permanently.
Yeah,
I listened. Anyway.
So maybe 4?
4, yeah. It's Kinga, Celine, Laurie, and me.
Which is great. I had a really interesting, in some ways scary experience with Lori and Fish. She and I and Ogie were battling it out to not get eliminated. And she sent me this beautiful text. I was coming off the Grimsel that morning. I had taken a completely different route after getting to Fish, and it was that really strong North Fern day that Kriegel went forever, and I couldn't get back into the Rhine, so I ended up landing down and walking all the way up the Grimsel the wrong way, and so I'd made a bad move, but I couldn't do anything. The wind was so strong I couldn't get south that day at all, and But that was the day, or it was 2 days after Lori had her incident in Lermoos, and she sent me a text and she said, "You don't have to race anymore. I'm gonna stop." And I mean, keep racing, but you don't have to worry about the elimination. I'm gonna stop. Thank you, because I was really stressed about it. And I caught up with her in Fiche, and I gave her this big hug, and she had this look on her face that I'll never forget. It was just destroyed. She was, I mean, you could tell there was a lot of relief because she was done, but she was also just, whatever happened in Lermoos must have been terrifying.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised when I saw her on the list.
I was too.
I wasn't expecting that after, like, being in the race and
I was
seeing
very
her,
surprised.
like, so tough girl to come back.
Yeah, tough
sure.
girl. I mean, it's fascinating. Everything depends on the weather. In 2015, we had so much wind and so many accidents and so many retirements but it wasn't terrible weather. It was just windy. It was just a lot of wind. And then in 2019, you could launch anywhere. It just didn't matter. I mean, it was still hard weather. We had that awful heat wave at the end. And just,
super stable, super hot.
Like Aaron said, it was a sauna. It was miserable, but it wasn't dangerous. You could launch anywhere. So wind is your enemy.
I think so,
yeah. Will you try to do some hike and fly racing before, the little ones before this race?
No, I'll do some trail run competitions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a runner?
I hate running, but I like hiking.
Okay.
But that's something you can train, I was told. So
Yes. And you said you like ski touring.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect training tool, and you're in a good spot to do it. Let's talk about instructing. So you've been instructor now for how long?
I started in 2014.
Oh, a long time.
Yeah.
For people listening that are, inspired to maybe someday be an X-Alps pilot, or just to be a good pilot, or to come to a Superfinal, that kind of thing, what would you tell them as an instructor? What would be the things to focus on, or things that you've seen that, the couple of mistakes that people should avoid?
I think that it's important that people stick to themselves, and that they stay in their own learning zone. That it's good to not always just stay at their comfort zone. If you always just stay on the same mountain tumbling for 3 hours, you won't learn anything. So you have to go a step ahead. But I think it's important that people don't do 2 steps at once, like that they get afraid, that they get fear, because it's just too much for them. So 1 step after the other, and always stay curious and try new things and other stuff. And it's not only about going for cross-country flying, but it's also going to SOA, doing some maneuvers, and just get more confident wherever the wing is, because that makes you more calm in the air when it's getting bumpy, because you'll have it under control. And so you just expand your comfort zone, and so you get better and better. And I think one of the most important things is to talk to people, because you can learn so much from other pilots or friends or whatever. And if you ask kindly, nicely, there's no one saying, "No, I won't tell you that."
No, not in this sport.
This doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist.
And I think that's really important, just to share and to talk, and about good things and also about bad things, because everyone had these one call-ups where you were shaking when you landed, but it helps if you talk about it, if you analyze what was going on, and also think about how you could have done it better, or how you will do it better the next time. So that's, for me, I'm doing it personally all the time when I had a huge collapse. What could I have done better? Okay, not eating a bar in the middle of a 5 meters thermal. Okay, that's something I can improve.
That one seems pretty easy. Check that box.
But I needed to try it twice to really understand it's not a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, it didn't work out once. Let's try it again.
Yeah.
It goes. Has instructing, I've always thought that I've always really stayed away from making paragliding my job in a sense. I mean, I guess the podcast is a job, but tandems or instructing, because I'm always afraid that it would zap me of a little bit of the passion for it when it becomes my work. Has that ever been an issue for you?
I was thinking about that a lot, actually, because I was thinking the same. Like, my initial plan was, okay, I'm doing like the university, doing my master's, and then I'm going to work as a geometer or a civil engineer and just work for fun in the flight school for some days or weeks in the year. But then I kind of worked more and more in the flight school, and I'm not only teaching, I'm also doing all the administrative stuff and working in the shop, and also doing like the human resources and all these organizational stuff. And I realized that I really like it. That also seeing the stuff in behind, that it's not just the one guy standing out there with the radio telling you what to do, but all this stuff you need to have before and to make plans. Okay, how to get better, how to teach better, how to improve the skills of your students, but also of your teachers, because of course you're doing your instructor license and you have to like do this every 2 years. You have to do some courses to kind of hold your license, but I think that's often not enough. You really have to keep on working on yourself, that you stay up to date, because the gliders are changing, the methods of teaching are changing, and that's something really interesting for me to try to have a good quality in our school.
Will Gadd told me something one time that's really stuck with me over the years, that he, famous ice climber and famous pilot and just an incredible athlete, but he told me that when he sees people coming to this sport from other flow sports, so free riding and skateboarding and surfing, he doesn't worry about them too much. But when you come from non-really flow sports, like climbing, or when you're not dealing with a lot of gravity, I guess climbing you are dealing with gravity, but anyway, flow sports versus non-flow sports, that he worries more about them. As an instructor, do you have people come? It strikes me that paragliding is attractive, especially in the Alps, when you see it everywhere, that people must come to your school who don't really have any athletic background or any experience with flow sports. They might be more academics and just want to go flying. Do you have people come that just really shouldn't be in the sport? And do they just naturally go away from it, or can you help steer that ship?
Most of the time they find out by themselves in the first few days that it's not really their sport.
It's
but
pretty quick like that?
Normally, yes. Oh. Because that's the good thing about paragliding. And you have at first, on this trainings hill, you have to walk up on your own. And that's where you're kind of selecting. Yeah. No, but actually it's maybe once a year there's someone you have to tell, maybe it's better you don't go on with the sport. But that's always pretty difficult, because I personally think that paragliding is getting safer and safer, and that in the right environment, I think you can do it pretty safe. But there are some people who shouldn't go flying on their own because they have no clue about the weather, they don't know where to go, they just don't know anything. But I think that's good that there are like flight schools offering like even like these trips going, I don't know, Italy, or in our place where we have just like 2 instructors, even with pilots having the license, but they're only flying once a year. So you can't expect them to be like really aware of all the situation. So I think it's good that there are like these kind of scenarios where they can go flying, have fun, but in a safe environment where someone tells them, okay, you can fly now you wait. And so it's, I think, always difficult, because paragliding isn't like biking. If you don't do it for 5 years, you really have to start again from the beginning, and you have to do it on a regular basis to be safe. That's for me personally what I think. So yeah, when people say, okay, I'm starting paragliding, like the first 1-2 years, I'm mostly really motivated, but then often there comes this kind of no, maybe I'll do something with my girlfriend, or I've got kids, or whatever. And then you realize that they're flying less and less, and that's the point where I think it's can become dangerous, because they think, okay, I'm a pilot, I have a license, I know what to do, but if you don't keep on
you got to keep
doing
the
it,
skills sharp.
it's...
How do you feel about competitions with your students? Do you encourage them to? How do you feel about competitions in general?
I think competition is a perfect playground to learn really, really fast a lot of stuff. But for sure, you have to be able to turtle at first before you can go to a competition, because it has to be automatic that you find the turtle, and so you have the capacity to check what the others are doing and see the others in the turtle. And because that's what we are doing here. We're not concentrating on our instrument, where's the best climb. We're concentrating, okay, where are the others? And trying not to bump into them and see them, okay, I don't know, this orange light over there has a better lift, so I'm going there. But if you're still focused on, okay, which brake do I need to
Yeah. It's a little overwhelming.
Yeah, so that's what I meant with one step after each other. Because if you have like a pilot who did like his first 2 hours flight, he's not ready for doing a competition. But on the competitions, you learn incredibly fast, because you have so many people you can watch. You can see, okay, they're leaving at 2,500, whatever. They're reaching on the other side. Okay, how high can I go? How much altitude do I need? How much speed I use? And that's was for me like, oh my god, I can use so much speed and it's so much fun. And
the wing just hardens up. I've never used so much full bar ever. I mean, I've done not a lot, but I've done quite a few World Cups and high level comps in the last few years, and you use a lot of bar, but this one was phenomenal. We were using a lot of bar. Full bar. There was never any 3/4 bar. Full bar or you're thermaling. That's it.
And then we were back at communication, because if you have like 100 pilots or 50 pilots on the smaller competitions, there are so many sources of information. And because that's really cool about paragliding, because you've never stopped learning. And you can be like Honoré or Baptiste or Philip being on the podium here. They are still like trying to improve themselves still all the time.
They still don't have it totally figured out. They never will. Nobody ever will.
And that's maybe the most fascinating thing for me in the sport. But competitions, I think it's really good for everyone to do some competitions, because the whole environment and getting faster, being like really efficient in the turmoil. If you're always alone, you always think that you're good, because you don't see anyone else.
I'm crushing it.
If you're the only one, you'll always be the first. So
right.
But there you get like a mirror, and all right,
it's very eye-opening.
And that's always funny if like cross-country pilots come to their first competition and they think like, I'm
good.
I'm good.
I'm the local hero at home.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see. Enjoy eating that dirt day after day. And it still happens after all these years. It's amazing. So my last article, I do this column every other month for Cross Country Magazine, and I kind of wrote a letter to the rookies. I don't know if you saw that, but you're not really a rookie in my mind, because you've done the supporter role now. But what would you say? You rattled off a whole bunch of things when we were last time about the technology and the maps and the van and the charging and the equipment and all that. But you've got a microphone here, and some of the rookies will no doubt listen to this show. What would you tell them in terms of little checklist of things that are these things are really important to be thinking about now in December? You've got 6 months.
I think it's pretty good if you have like your flying equipment ready pretty soon. That you have like glider harness, the whole setup you use at the race as soon as possible, so you feel like 100% comfortable with it and you know it inside out. And the more you fly, the more you use it, the better. And it's the same with all the navigational aids you're using. You have to do it before. You have to train it. Even like planning a route or like bombing out somewhere and somehow figure out how to go home.
Nothing will go as planned.
Never.
Yeah.
So that you just have to do before, and it doesn't matter if your supporter is at the other end of the world. It doesn't matter if he's in the car 10 k's away from you or 100 k's away from you. It's the same, because you have to communicate on the phone or via internet and sending routes or whatever. And that's really important that both sides know, like the supporter and the athlete, what the other one needs and what he wants and how to do it. And
you said simulation too. I think that was really, really key for us. We always did, a 2-day simulation in January, a 3-day in February, and we added them up. They were mostly physical simulations. So they were, Ben would try to model the output of the race, and if it wasn't flyable, it was just, okay, we'll try to do this amount of vertical and this amount of road walking and this amount in the pool. It didn't have to be what we were doing, but just the basically the steps that you're imagining you're doing. And then, the food, the getting up at the 4:30, going to bed at 11, the whole thing. For me, it's always a ton of mobility. But we then learned that the really important thing too was to, he would give me the route like he would in the race. He lives 3 states away. You, like you said, you could totally do that. But, I think for me, my real Achilles heel is like Aaron's, is the tech stuff. So my team's really good at it, and they've learned that, okay, Gavin can only process this, and here's the route. That's it. And I know how to load it. And I know how to follow an arrow, and it all works, but yeah, so that's really good advice. Other stuff? What about body maintenance, foot maintenance, that kind of thing?
I have like a nutrition expert I'm working together with.
Okay.
So we kind of changed my whole nutrition system, which didn't work out here in Mexico, to be honest, because like
you only eat meat here.
Just tacos.
Damn good tacos.
Damn good tacos. No, but even here I lost 2 kilos again, so I have to work on that.
Are you really trying to stay as heavy as you can?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I can gain a little weight, it would be good, because anyway, during the race you will lose it.
Yeah.
And you will need some spare fat to burn it.
Yes.
And no, but I'm not planning on getting fat. Planning on getting stronger. But
what is there a kind of nutritional? Are you kind of going keto, or what is the nutritional program?
It's more or less I have like a plan of how many calories I should eat, and how much percentage it should be proteins and minerals and carbohydrates and all this stuff, and like with more or less 3 main meals and 2 snacks in between. So basically at home I feel like I'm eating all day long. So yeah, that's about nutrition, and that's coming back to simulation. Like our plan is to do like 4 days, like as if it would be the race, like with the same nutrition, we even rent a camper and the same setup, all the people in the van, and we just pick part of the route and say, okay, we're going to do that no matter what the weather is.
Yeah.
And because that's how it will be during the race, and if it's shitty weather, it's shitty weather, we have to deal with it, and if it's good flyable weather, great.
Yeah.
But that's what we want to do over Easter.
You must, having been the sport, you know the area quite well, but what do you think about Kriegel's whole thing that, I was fascinated. I was sitting next to him at one of the media events in 2015 before the race, and I'd been over there for 2 months scouting. And because I'm not from the Alps, and I felt like I really needed to. And he said, "Oh yeah, I don't scout anything." And I thought, really? I know you live here, but you don't go scout other parts of the course? And he said, because if I go in May and scout it, it's so different. It has no relevance, and I don't want to have any preconceptions. And the other big one was in 2017. He asked 10 of us. We'd all scouted Garda. And he asked 10 people, how do you fly to Garda? And we all said, you can't. It's impossible. There's too much wind. The wind comes up the lake, and you're not going to be able to do it. And he did. Yeah. Because he just said, well, I don't want to hear that. And so and he figured it out. I think he and Gaspard were the only 2 that flew in there. Yeah. So what do you think about that?
I'm kind of doing the same. I'm not planning to scout anything, because once I've seen
You're just going
quite
to
a
do
bit.
sections of the race for the simulation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this section we will do, but as Krieger said, the problem is if you think, okay, I did the simulation there, I went on this takeoff, you kind of spoiled, and you tend to do the same thing, even if the weather situation is completely different.
Yeah.
And so you're, I think, not so open-minded.
Yeah.
That's my thing. What I really do a lot is like beforehand, like with Google Earth, like checking out different options and going through different ways how to do it. Okay, where's the pass? Could we do it hiking wise or not? Because that's something I learned during the races. You always need to have a backup plan. If anything goes wrong, you need to be somewhere where you
flexible.
Where you can do something, like especially when you're crossing the main ridge. Like, I don't know if you checked Aaron's routes, but it was always somewhere where there would have been a path. In case he would have bombed, he could have just walked on the other side. Yeah. Because that's the worst thing which could happen, that you're on one side and then you have to do a real big detour. So that's something I learned in the races. That this is just important because you never know. And what I also learned is just stick to the straight line. The long big detours, it's not really worth it. It's better to just go straight, hike a bit, and go straight again than to do like a big detour, because normally it takes so much longer.
So something that I have really struggled with, especially after 2015, is 2015 I didn't really know what I was getting into, and I just had fun, and I ended up having the right headspace for it because it was really windy, and I like it when it's rough. I tend to do better when it's rough. And then doing well, I got to Monaco, and it went way better than we expected. Then I went into the future races with more, okay, I'm going to do this well, and which was the opposite of what I think my mind needed to cling on to. And so I got more, I don't know, tense, stressed, whatever. I had expectations rather than none, other than just having fun. And one of the things that became, and I trained this every year, I always trained to not think, when I was in training, I was always training to fly the day, not the course line, to just do what we do as XC pilots. But then in the race, I always felt like my vision would narrow as the days went on, because the obvious move is not on course line. It's over here. That's going to work. As an XC pilot, that's totally what I would do. But if I blow that, that's going to add 20K on the ground. And it starts to just compress. And I would, at times I would still pull it off, but at many times I would become a less pilot, and I would be more pessimistic than I would typically be, because I had this worry of, but do you think about that? Or are you training that in any kind of way? Or
I plan to do it like on competitions, that I set myself like a task, and like even here we have like this 60Ks of way we could choose, and that's how I want to do in the X-Alps, to still have some options, but kind of have like an arrow to follow.
This is the mission.
This is the mission. There I want to go, because even here you saw there are so many ways you can do it, and normally the fastest is the more straight you can go, the better. And of course, if it's like just cheddar and shitty like it was in yesterday's task, like all the right side looked like really shitty to me, so I stayed on the left, going closer to the takeoff, back up, so worked fine. So for sure you need to have this open-minded, but like Simon, for example, you shouldn't tell him any route, because that's completely fucking him up in the head. Interesting. Yeah, and so for me that's pretty interesting to see, like Simon doing the best thing is he doesn't know anything about the route, he just figures his own way. And Aaron, like, okay, you're going from this terminal to this terminal to this terminal to this terminal. Interesting. And so it's completely opposite the way they fly. And so I think I'm somewhere in the middle between those.
It must have been interesting supporting Simon, because he came onto the scene. I mean, at least from my perspective, people didn't know who he was. And man, he's gifted at that race. He's just done so well every year. He's really, and he's always kind of chipper and happy. And
he's the nicest person I know in the race.
Yeah,
so,
he's a very nice guy.
And he's so friendly with his supporters.
Yeah.
He can't be mad on anyone.
Wow, that's a nice characteristic. So this will be the last question. Before every X-Alps that I've been a part of, in the race week, leading up to the prologue and the race, the talk of the camp is always, this is the year Kriegel's going down. This is the year Kriegel's going down. And I always go, yeah, no chance of that. And I still think there's no chance of that. But obviously everyone can be beat, including Kriegel. I don't know how, but, he's 1-8. He's going his 9th. To me, he's stronger than he's ever been. But do you think he can get taken down? And if so, by whom?
As you said, there's always something can go wrong in Kriegel's race or someone else's race, so you'll never know. There's no guarantee. But I think there are a couple of strong people in the race who could keep up with him. I don't know if it's going to be Maxime again chasing him, or if Aaron is doing a great race, or Simon, or I don't know, maybe one of the rookies who we will see. But yeah, X-Alps is for me mostly about decision making. And Kriegel is just flipping impressive on doing the right move at the right time. Yeah. And as long as we are not able to be on this level, it will be hard catching him.
Yes, I agree. I was always the one in the camp going, yeah, I don't think so. He is impressive. And he's getting so much better. The thing for me, at my age, I just turned 50. For me, the last couple of races were, I don't have a chance to stay with these younger. They're just getting better and better and better. But so is Kriegel,
Yeah.
and he just turned 40, I think. So he is getting older, of course, as we all are. But he's impressive.
Yeah.
It's been really fun to watch him. Just this domination is incredible.
Yeah, he's always like this one step ahead of the others.
Yeah.
And I think one of his biggest advantages is his mental strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
professionalism.
Yeah.
This whole thing, it's all oriented around winning all the time for everything, and it's very impressive. Ellie, that was great. Thanks for sharing your time. We had a big night last night, so I know we're barely hanging on here with this coffee, but thank you so much. Good luck in your preparation, and I can't wait to watch you race this June.
Thank you.
Good luck.